Welcome to Urban Community School. My name's Tom Gill. I'm the president here, and we're thrilled tonight to welcome Mayor Bibb and Councilman McCormack for this town hall. I just want to be very brief about the school. We had open classrooms today. We start full go tomorrow. There will be about 770 kids here from 6 weeks through the 8th grade tomorrow, which is great. So, been in the neighborhood about 54 years. A lot of you know us well. And we're just thrilled to do what we do and to have you all here tonight. So welcome, and with that, I'll turn it over to Councilman McCormack.
Thank you, Tom, and good evening, everyone. I first want to recognize Tom Gill. For anyone who knew Sister Maureen Doyle, who used to run Urban Community School, and when she went on to do different things, we all had a moment where we freaked out thinking, who the heck can attempt to fill her shoes? We're not going to say Tom has quite filled her shoes yet, but he's done a tremendous job here at Urban Community School. So hopefully as you were coming in, you were able to walk around, see what they've done to transform this campus that has maintained its mission to serving children regardless of income levels across the west side and the city of Cleveland. So I just want to congratulate. And can I please have a round of applause from them being such a gracious host? When we asked Tom if we could hold the meeting here, there wasn't even a moment of pause. He said, absolutely, let's do it. So thank you, Tom, and your team who helped us out here tonight. And thank you to you all so much for coming out tonight. I know your time is valuable, so we appreciate you showing up, getting engaged, and leaning into your community. Again, my name is Kerry McCormack, and I have the privilege of serving Ward 3 on Cleveland City Council, which is everything from East 40th and Lakeside all the way almost down to Denison. So we've got a large ward of a great group of folks in our community, so thank you for coming out tonight. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide an update from the city of Cleveland about the first 8+ months of this new term. We've got a new mayor, who's right over here, if you haven't seen yet. But there's a lot of really exciting things happening at the city of Cleveland. As Mayor Bibb came in, he made sure to shake things up, which in my opinion, we needed. And he's brought on a really smart, fresh team into City Hall. And there's a lot of work that has happened, but also that is going to continue to happen on behalf of the city of Cleveland, from innovative big ideas to getting the basics right. So we wanted to provide this opportunity to update the community on what some of that work is. I will tell you, I don't get a crowd like this, so I know you're not here for me, you're here for him. So without further ado, I want to introduce my friend and our mayor, Justin Bibb.
Thank you so much. It certainly is an honor to be here with my other boss, my Councilman Kerry McCormack, by the way. And it has been a very busy 8 months as the mayor of this great city. I want to just spend just a few minutes walking through a couple of key accomplishments and highlights that we've done since we took office on January 3rd. And really, Kerry and I want to get to your questions as well, to make this a true act of conversation with the residents. But before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not introduce my amazing staff that's here today. We have my CFO, Chief Ahmed Abunama. Say hello. He's also a proud Ward 3 resident as well, too. We have my senior strategist for transit and mobility, Callie Mearsman. Say hello, Callie. We have our West Side Market Guru, Jessica Trevisano. Say hello, Jessica. We have our other fearless leader, my head of government affairs, Ryan Puente, as well, too, in the back. Hopefully, I didn't miss anyone from my team. As you know, public safety is my #1 priority as mayor, and will always be my #1 priority as mayor. And just this morning, I woke up to a call from my head of public safety, Carrie Howard, to see that a 14-year-old girl was killed last night. We have a gun problem in the city. we have a gun problem in the state. And we are doing everything humanly possible at 601 Lakeside Avenue to get more guns off the street. But if there is one call to action I want to make sure you guys recognize today, is that this November, we have the opportunity to elect a Supreme Court and members of the state legislature that will give Kerry and me more tools to get these guns off our street, right? So it's important that we keep our eye on that important issue. We made a lot of progress. You may have seen just several weeks ago, in just 4 months, we negotiated a very hard contract with the police union without going to arbitration. We negotiated 11% pay increase over the next 3 years for police. This will go a long way to attract and retain good officers. We've also done a couple other things as well to make sure we can attract and retain good officers. Historically, our cops weren't allowed to wear ball caps. Our cops weren't allowed to have beards. Our cops were not allowed to have tattoos. And so they were going to Shaker Heights and Bedford and Mayfield and not staying at CPD. And so we believe that this first contract is an early down payment to make sure we can be competitive with our peers across the state and across the country to attract and retain good officers. Now we're down 300 cops. We are down 300 officers. So we have a long way to go. Our public safety team is actively recruiting all across the community. And so if you have friends and neighbors who want to join to be a part of the next generation of policing, make sure you spread the word. We are also working hard to execute the mandate you gave us last November around Issue 24, which is now called Charter Section 115. We are truly leading what I believe is the most progressive policing agenda in America. And we are in the final stages of recommending candidates to City Council for approval for the Cleveland Community Policing Commission. And I'm confident that these community leaders will help us improve training and improve culture to make sure that our police department shares my values as mayor around equity, justice, and constitutionally appropriate policing. The other positive headline I want to talk about is the fact that in just the first 6 months of my time in taking office, almost every major category of violent crime is down. Positive trend, but we still have a long way to go. And I also believe that further investments in a co-responder model of policing, where social workers and mental health professionals joint officers will help us address violent crime, but also making sure that we have a completely community-oriented approach to solving public safety issues, because police alone cannot solve this problem. That's why we intend to leverage the American Rescue Plan investments and make sure we can be a safe city and make the hard investments in alternative forms of policing to keep our community safe and secure long-term. Secondly, having a modern and responsive City Hall. Now, as you know, I campaigned on changing the city's website, by the way, and we've made positive progress. I see Eden from my communications team just walked in. She's working with our communications leadership team and IT to build a brand new modern website. We think it'll be done by March, I believe, of next year. Right, Eden? March of next year. But as you can see, the mayor's landing page has changed. And for the first time ever at City Hall, nearly every department at City Hall actually has access to Microsoft 360. That's a big deal, by the way. Because when we took office, and Callie can attest to this, that city planning couldn't share documents with economic development. Think about that for a second. They weren't able to share information to do the hard work of investing in efficient and effective economic development. And so we've made material progress around that. The other thing that we're investing in is making sure that we truly have a one-stop shop at City Hall. Because for far too long, you've had to go to the website, navigate a very old, outdated website, and find a number to get your complaint heard, whether it be on recycling or getting a new trash can or identifying an illegal dump site. And so we are in the process right now of modernizing the city's 311 system so that we can be like New York and Philadelphia and Boston to ensure that we have a 311 system so you truly have a one-stop shop to call City Hall, get your complaint heard, and track your complaint over time. And we're using our new management team in order to do that. So we hired for the first time in our city's history a chief of technology and innovation to truly modernize our operations. And we hired a new leader of our data analytics hub at City Hall to make sure we're leading with data to improve high quality basic city services all around the city. The other thing I want to highlight as well is recycling. As you know, for a long time, we were fake recycling and not really recycling in the city. And so we've been working very hard with grassroots organizations to increase the number of households that are recycling across the city with our new sticker opt-in program. Now we're still working out many of the kinks and we're getting your complaints and hearing your positive your feedback every single day and making improvements. But we have finally brought back recycling in the city of Cleveland. We need more residents and households to opt in. And we want to make sure we get recycling right in our city long term. In terms of economic development, I also want to highlight the material work and progress we've made on the West Side Market. As you know, the West Side Market is a major gem, not just in this ward, not just in this state, but really the country. It's a legacy asset. I don't need the PowerPoint, by the way. We can stop the PowerPoint. And we've done a couple of things to build a long-term pathway to turn around the West Side Market. As I said in my introduction, we hired Jessica Trevisano to be our expert who wakes up every single day talking to vendors, talking to Councilman McCormack about what we can do to improve the West Side Market. We're in the process of changing the leases so that vendors can actually have a long-term lease at the West Side Market. We're in the process of allowing alcohol sales as well at the West Side Market. And with the support of Councilman McCormack, we are laying the foundation to actually have the West Side Market be managed by a nonprofit operator over time. And just last week, we also announced a major project with one of my favorite nonprofits in town, Rust Belt Riders, to bring composting to the West Side Market so we can truly lead the city and the state on climate justice in the future. The other thing I want to say is thank God we have a president in DC who believes in cities. As you know, Cleveland received over $512 million from President Biden. And we intend not to do what we see our peers doing at the county. I am not going to approve a wish list of pet projects with this money. I'm going to say that again. I'm not going to approve a wish list of pet projects with this money. And so we've been working to make sure we use this money to invest in long-term investments around public safety, to make sure we invest in programs like housing repair and senior home repair and down payment assistance for our hardest hit parts of the community, laying the foundation to make sure that no child or family doesn't have access to the internet in the city, and also the down payments we made around lead paint to finally solve the lead paint crisis in Cleveland. So that just gives you a snapshot of what we've been doing for the last nearly 8 months. But we still have a long way to go. We made a lot of good progress. And I know that council and the administration want to make sure that we always leave a resident voice to move our community forward. So thanks for having me here today. And I'm sure Kerry and I will take some questions. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Yep, absolutely. His communications team put a lot of time into this PowerPoint, so I just want to thank them for that. So just as before we go into, and I want to put in a couple of housekeeping pieces too. So we're Facebook Living this, so I think I have some questions coming in that way as well. We've got a microphone for folks, and then Katie. Actually, I want to give Katie a round of applause. Katie, will you wave? So there are two people that manage all of Ward 3, myself, and Katie is the other one. She's an incredible, incredible public servant, so I just want to give her that recognition. I'm going to get in big trouble for doing that, but Katie has flyers that you can write a question down. So if you don't want to stand up and ask it in front of everybody, not a problem. See her over there by the green board there. And she's got just a simple thing that you can write your question down. So feel free to do that if you don't want to speak up. A couple other things too, as the mayor and I kind of tag team this, I want to mention, we just also launched the Speed Hump program, which I'll tell you that I hear all the time in our neighborhood block clubs, people concerned about speeding and neighborhood safety. So that was just launched. The first one is in the ground. We're also thankful to our planning staff for passing our Complete and Green Streets ordinance to ensure our roads are safer. If you are on a bike, if you are utilizing a wheelchair, if you are crossing the street, if you are anybody, that our roads are safer for everybody. So that's another major initiative that we took on. I will tell you, as many of you all know, I've been working on this for 5 years. It took a mayor to believe in that vision to make it happen, and I appreciate the mayor for following through on that. So with that, oh yeah, no, for sure, that's a big one. So there's a lot more in that presentation, but I think we committed to sticking to 20 minutes for these opening remarks. And with that, again, if you want to see Katie with a question, feel free to do it. Daryl will be monitoring wherever he is, Facebook Live. Or if not, you're welcome to come on up to the mic. Ms. Triplett, did you have a question? Come on up.
All right.
Okay, we can hear you.
You can hear me okay. Cynthia Triplett, resident of Riverview Towers, which is right down the street from West Side Market. And I applaud everything that you said, everything that I said from the point. I really do. One of my concerns is kind of sensitive, and I know it cannot be addressed here tonight. Riverview is part of CMHA, low income housing. And I see all the beautiful things that you're doing for seniors. Riverview Towers is a senior building. Well, recently it was designated as not senior, but the majority are seniors. And none of that applies to the seniors living in Riverview. And I've already talked to the councilman. He has agreed to come over. We need help. And like I said, that's a very sensitive issue because it is a part of CMHA. So I'm hoping in the very near future we can do what we need to do. But one thing I was thinking about when you were describing the improvements to the West Side Market, I love living in that area. I hope I never have to leave. I just love the diversity. I love all the improvements. But as the improvements are being made, residents in Riverview who a lot do drive, they cannot even park in Riverview's parking lot. And it's amazing because people go and look at the parking lot, and we pretty much know who does not live there. A lot of the cars are people from all the improvements that have been opened in that area coming and literally taking parking spaces. So I'm hoping, and I know you're aware, and the council person, that the parking in that area is horrible. I love all the improvements and the bowling area that opened up across the street is amazing. I've been in there myself, but coming there on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, where do they park? The majority park in Riverview parking lot. So something has to be done about the parking. So I just wanted to mention those things briefly. Thank you.
No, I just, could everyone hear Ms. Triplett's comments? Okay, I'm going to repeat them briefly. So Ms. Triplett, a resident of Riverview Tower, concerned about the general conditions of the tower, as well as parking concerns with their parking lot and folks that don't live there parking there. So we discussed earlier, we're going to host a community meeting within Riverview to directly address those. But
I'll just say I'm happy to pass that recommendation to Jeffrey Patterson, who runs CMHA. But I would say that, we have to recognize that we need to be an age-friendly city in Cleveland. A couple things that we've done immediately to address this. One, we just passed, with council support, pay-to-stay legislation so that we can keep people in their homes. We want to take a look at source of income protection as well, too. And so we want to make sure that our investments, particularly around economic development, allow our seniors to age in place and live a life with dignity. That's critical.
Hi, Mayor Bibb. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. We particularly appreciated your comments around public safety and co-response and community-oriented policing. So my question to you is, there's a newer model that's a proven alternative around the country called non-police response or care response. I'm wondering how you might consider that as another option to really change how we do public safety in Cleveland, because like I said, there's a lot of this happening around the country, including in Cincinnati now. And it will free police up to focus on the violent crime, but it's a way to respond to nonviolent people in crisis, mental health crisis, homeless people who are just dealing with one kind of crisis or another. And it involves not sending police, but sending social workers or EMTs, paramedics, peers who have the lived experience. So I'd like to hear what you think about that approach.
Well, I read your report, so thank you for the work that you and your team did on that report. And we intend to leverage. You guys can't.
Didn't hear?
Oh, sorry. So the question was around whether or not the city supports a care response model for policing. So essentially what that is having social workers or mental health professionals going to a 911 call versus 2 armed police officers. So this is a model that I've been studying for quite some time. It's happening right now in New York, Columbus, Denver. You mentioned Cincinnati. We are using the investments we've gotten from President Biden through the American Rescue Plan to make an early down payment on a potential co-responder model of policing in Cleveland. Now, will that model not have an officer show up? We don't know quite yet. This will take some input from public safety, because when I've done ride-alongs with the police department, I've seen where having that officer there, particularly if it's a domestic violence incident or if someone's having a mental health episode and things get out of hand, you want to make sure that someone from public safety is there to monitor the scene. But having social workers and mental health professionals with our first responders, I believe, will go a long way to address that issue. But we need to do what's right for Cleveland, given the unique conditions of Cleveland. The other thing we want to explore as well, too, is having a fourth option to 911 around mental health, so we get the right response to the right call, which speaks to your concern. So we look forward to getting your input on this as this process unfolds with the American Rescue Plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
No, I would just, the mic's up. All right. You can hear better now, can't you? I might sing a song. Okay. No, I would just echo what the mayor said. I think it's important that we are sending the right response to the right emergency. And thank you, Pete, and your team for that report. It's really important work. So, Paula, come on up. If you can speak up, speak up.
Hi. Whoa, that works. I'll stand over here by my chair.
I'm so glad that happened to you.
I guess we fixed the mics.
We fixed the mics.
Hi, I'm Paula Camp. I'm rarely this loud. Sorry. Whew, hope you're all okay. Also, while I've got your attention, register to vote and register everybody on your block to vote. That's your assignment. Also, so you mentioned Joe Biden and this extraordinary amount of money that has become available, especially for climate-related things. Just a mind-blowing amount of money is available through the Inflation Reduction Act. If anybody hasn't read it, go check it out. Specifically, Mayor, I'm pretty sure you're the only person in this entire city who can get CPP to use that money right to do community solar across this city, which will solve so many things for our city and be of, of great service to people, the environment, public health, your administration, and make Cleveland be like on the map for this thing. Can you talk to us about what's the plan?
So thank you for that question, Paula. I would say we are still formulating a plan, to be very frank with you. Let me talk you through kind of the structural barriers that we've identified since taking office around CPP, and then what that may mean for our go-forward plan. First and foremost, we have an outstanding amount of pending litigation with First Energy, as well as another major class action lawsuit. And so we want to be thoughtful about how any modernization of CPP might impact that litigation, first and foremost. Secondly, I've been building my energy team internally at City Hall. We just hired Sarah O'Keefe to be my new head of climate justice and sustainability at City Hall. So with Sarah and my COO, Bonnie Tewin, and Marty Keene, who runs public utilities, we are bringing a legal advisor around the table with our law director to figure out how do we reimagine our current contract, this 50-year contract we got to get out of, how to use that as leverage to make these early investments long-term. Now, we've made some progress over the last 8 months on community solar. We just did a pilot project for low to moderate income solar for, I think, up to 10 homes in Cleveland. We'll see how that pilot works to identify how we can scale that. And then what I didn't talk about was we actually want to modernize the building of City Hall. And we are looking at, I want to put solar on the roof of City Hall, right? How do we make sure that we power all of our assets we own as a city with renewable energies versus using fossil fuels? And so we still have a long way to go on the plan, but know that it's a priority for me as mayor. Okay, thank you.
Katie, do we have any written questions?
Yes.
All right, Mo.
So I have a question from Carol in Tremont, and she would like to know, will the new Citizens Board have police training before they make judgments on the actions taken by police within the line of duty?
Yes, they will. So with the work that we've been doing with the DOJ and other national groups who've actually done this work of formulating new community police commissions, they will undergo comprehensive training before they become part of the commission. And it was a key part of our application process. We had over 300 residents apply to be a part of the new community police commission. They've been thoroughly vetted, rigorous questions from our evaluation team. And I'm confident we'll have a group of common sense residents who share my belief in real, responsible, good law enforcement and public safety. But when cops get out of hand, we hold them accountable. Simple as that.
Okay, I'm coming. No. What'd you say? Come on.
Hi, Mayor and Kerry. Nice to see you. My name is Julie Steigerwald, and I live on Clinton Avenue. And I've lived in Ohio City since, I think, about 2015. And the changes that have occurred there have been absolutely mind-boggling. And so I have a two-part thing that I'd like to say. One is that I really hope that going forward, the policies that are enacted, that we can somehow, I'm not sure how, but maintain the diversity in the area. And I think that, economic, racial, everything, it's really what makes it, it's our strength and makes it vibrant. And I lived most of my life in Columbus and probably lived in just about every historic neighborhood there. And they've done a great job with their historic neighborhoods. Ohio City is totally unique. And part of it is that there's so much history, but there's also so much new and so much changing. The other part of my thing is that I've heard that the first draft of or some draft of the zoning revision has been reviewed by architects not in Ohio City. And I would really like to put in a request that there are some wonderful architects in Ohio City that have lived here and worked here and would probably have some really valuable input. And with that, thanks.
No, appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just quickly, I grew up on the east side of the city of Cleveland in Collinwood, was in Spain, moved home, and the reason I chose Ohio City, this is long before I was ever involved in political office, was because of exactly what you're talking about, is the diversity, is the welcoming, accepting this as well. So let me pinpoint a couple quick points that I think are really important and that we can activate around. Number one of the biggest issues we see is property tax leading to property value leading to increased property tax and impacting folks in our community, especially senior citizens. There's a statewide coalition to get state legislation, which we need, to bring loop to Cleveland and cities across the state of Ohio. What that is it caps property tax increases for qualifying folks in the community so that even if the value goes up around you, your property taxes are not affected or not really as much. I will tell you, I have sat in quite a few living rooms of folks crying because they're trying to figure out how to pay their increased property taxes. This is a real problem, and there's a statewide initiative because, as you would imagine, Cleveland is not the only city dealing with this. Columbus, Cincinnati, too, have similar issues. So that's a big boy because that is really impacting a lot of folks, especially seniors in our community. The second thing I will say, too, is that where we have city land on the near west side, and I don't know, Tom McNair, 5 years ago, we froze the land bank lots in Tremont and Ohio City because we saw that they were going for $200 for market rate development, and that's not good land policy. So Ohio City Inc. and Tremont West launched the Near West Land Trust, which will renovate and build permanently affordable housing on the near west side as well. That's more 1-2 unit housing, but then in addition to that, we're also looking at strategic locations for affordable housing within the neighborhood. So let me give you an example. Has anyone seen Via Sana, the Metro Health partnership? Michelle Pomerantz here with Metro Health. So if you just drive down West 25th, right before you get to Metro Health's campus, there's a brand new affordable housing development on their campus or next to it? On the campus. We need like 10 of those in Ohio City. I mean, they are awesome, high quality, affordable housing developments that, and Scott, oh my gosh, we got the whole team here. I didn't set this up. So Scott is an Ohio City resident, but he's also with the NRP group who built that development. So where there is land, be it public land or be it land where folks who are friends to the community, St. Ignatius, we're able to take a look at that property and say, how do we build out affordable housing on these sites? As you all know, I like to level with folks. If you've got a house and you want to sell it for a bunch of money and someone's willing to buy it, the government can't stop that, right? That's a free market and folks are able to sell their homes and make money on their homes. But where we can impact property taxes, where we can preserve and build new affordability through publicly owned land, and where we can contribute to additional affordable housing, especially on bus lines, especially walkable to grocery stores, we got to do it. And then the other part too, and I see Ms. Debbie over here shaking her head, is investing in our existing affordable housing. So if anyone attended the last Ohio City community meeting, you heard the conversation around Fairview Gardens and the investment that Fairview Gardens means. But part of this equation is preserving existing affordable housing. Building new is good, we need to do that, but Fairview Gardens is a great example of a wonderful community of folks that we're working to improve and preserve that affordable housing. So long answer, but really key. The zoning piece, is it a specific piece of zoning or? Oh, she's talking about form-based code. You want to talk about form-based code?
I can speak on that a little bit. Our new head of city planning, Joyce Wong, this is a key priority for her and our team. We intend to work directly with the community, key architects, and other thought leaders to actually enhance our zoning in the city of Cleveland. And it won't be a top-down approach, and we want to make sure that resident voice, first and foremost, with the right architects, are around the table to get that done. Okay?
Katie, do we have another one from the crowd?
We do. Yes.
All right, come on up.
So on behalf of Patricia, who's a resident at Riverview, would like to know how you can get the polling stations back at Riverview, and also if they could potentially have some more police presence down there. There seems to be some drug issues.
Thank you. So question being public safety issues at Riverview Tower as well as polling location. So from the public safety perspective, I would suggest that we include that as a part of our meeting that we host. We can ask that CMHA's chief of police comes to that meeting so we can address that directly with him. The polling location, so for context, it was removed because of COVID, but there's no reason that it shouldn't come back, is the answer. So I can reach out to the Board of Elections on that issue, but there's no reason they shouldn't bring it back. That's a great point. Thank you. Yep. You have to fight to the mic. Come on up.
I'm a come.
You're welcome to come up and queue if you'd like, if you can.
Mayor Bibb, those of us who work in the parks, trails, green space, and recreation space were pleasantly surprised to read about your intention to create a 15-year master plan for city parks and recreation centers. So I'm wondering if you could talk with us a little bit about that movement. And as we read in the Cleveland.com article yesterday, much of the process will hinge on feedback from the public, and I think that process is being shepherded by the Trust for Public Land. So what do you need to hear from us with regards to that initiative?
Well, we need your ideas and input and feedback. I recognize the importance that green space has in our city. With the work that we're doing with city planning, we want to make Cleveland one of the first cities in North America that's a true 15-minute city. Regardless if you live on the east side, west side, downtown, you have access to a high-quality park that's well-lit and well-programmed. The other thing that we're evaluating as part of my administration is having a separate parks department so that we have a dedicated leader inside of City Hall that their number one job is figuring out how do we have high-quality parks across our city. Right now, it's buried in Public Works, unfortunately. And so we believe that this RFP, in conjunction with the new Department of Parks, will go a long way to have a focused strategy long-term to make Cleveland a great city with great parks all across our community.
Hi, Mayor. I have a question about environment and infrastructure. So whenever it rains, I'm sure you've noticed a lot of debris and sewage washes into the river and into the lake because of our antiquated sewage system that we have because it's so old. I'm just wondering what kind of plans the city has to address that. Thank you.
Well, I don't know anything specifically at the top of my head on that key question. I do know this. We are always in active conversations with the Regional Sewer District, the Water Department, and my new head of Climate Justice and Sustainability as well, too. I can elevate this concern and then work with the councilman to make sure we can kind of get a more detailed response for you on that issue.
And also, when the barrels go out, telling you not to park in front of the stuck sewer grates, please don't park in front of them, please. I know it's a pain, but that's the only way to get in there and clean them. Sir.
Hello. Can everyone hear me fine? Yes. Okay, good. My name is Max McGugan. I live right across from the Franklin Circle Church. I'm sure you've seen on the news that security officers downtown Cleveland at Playhouse Square were unionizing. I kind of wanted to know what your offices were doing to support their right to form a union.
Yeah, I support their unionization. I think they're We always, with public office and public dollars and labor negotiations, cannot get involved in the labor negotiations, but I am proud, open, out, supporting the unionization of those security workers. And will continue to say that in any space I'm in.
I agree with the councilman. I know that there was a dispute right before the International Film Festival at Playhouse Square. And our administration worked with Senator Sherrod Brown to make sure that those union workers got their fair share. And so we want to make sure we're a union city and always be a union city in Cleveland. Fight for labor where we can.
Thank you.
Elaine, come on up.
Hi, Councilman. Oh, hi, Mayor. Thanks for being here. So I'm Elaine Borowski, and I'm the chair of our Duck Island Block Club. And I have a question that has a little bit to do with this intersection between the urban overlay. Kerry's heard a lot about this idea of this intensive density of development, which makes sense, but it's also like killing our tree canopy at the same time. And I'm just wondering, from a planning commission standpoint, is there any room for a limitation or some things being placed on this urban overlay so that it seems counterintuitive to me that we want to be a green city, but then we kill all of our trees. So just like your feedback on that.
Before I pass it to the mayor, I would just say too, I want to thank him because we introduced a tree commission 4 years ago to provide oversight and teeth into some of the existing ordinances that we have, transparency, community engagement, and it was blocked prior. I don't know why. I'll allow y'all to, simmer on that. The mayor came in and was like, why aren't we doing this? And I was like, good question, Mayor. And we passed that new legislation, which I think is an important step for community engagement, community and trust, oversight, all of that. Because we have laws on the books today about tree canopy in the public right away, in private development sites over a quarter acre. They're already on the books. So it's, I think, a lot of question of enforcement, but I'll give it to the mayor.
To Kerry's point, this tree commission is important because it gives us a policy body and a governing authority inside City Hall to make sure we hold planning and development accountable to protect and preserve our tree canopy. The issue we also see is that at the zip code census tract level in the city, I can see a direct decrease in air quality if you go a couple blocks up, right? Particularly on the east side versus the west side of the city. And so we are committed to restoring the tree canopy in Cleveland. However, and I want to be very clear about this, there are parts of our city that have lost population. And I'm not a mayor that's going to manage decline. You didn't elect me to do that. You elected me to grow this city with equity, but balancing our core assets at the same time. And so we can grow, but grow in a thoughtful way that protects our environment in a sustainable fashion. And I think this tree canopy commission will be that kind of accountability partner to make sure we can do that long term in the city of Cleveland.
I think as long as they're integrated with planning commission,
Yeah,
yes.
agree, completely agree. Yep.
How's it going, Mayor? Thank you for being here. 4 weeks ago, Ward 12 Councilwoman Rebecca Moorer issued a comprehensive report on constituent services and the sort of workload that is required of folks on Cleveland City Council in order to respond to constituent services requests. This work sometimes took up 30, 40, maybe more hours a week for these council folks. I know that you mentioned that sort of overhauling and improving 311 was sort of one of the core things that you've been focused on for the last several months. Is that with an eye toward expanding 311 so as to relieve some of the burden on these city council members so that they can focus more on policy and legislation?
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. So let me just say, I'll give it to the mayor because I know they're doing a lot of work around 311, which is really great. And they've engaged with us on this too, and I welcome that. I'll just start by saying you're always welcome to call an email. So I think that I just want to make that clear, that if you have a concern or an issue, you're always welcome to contact our office. But to Matthew's question of how do we create a more responsive 311 expansive, I think it's a really important question, so I'll give it to Mayor.
Matthew, I read Rebecca's report, the councilwoman's report. I thought it was great. It was a good analysis, a good snapshot of what's working, what's not working inside City Hall. With the respect to the administration, We want to have a world-class 301 system that rivals other cities across the country. That's my commitment. That requires more investments in our people, more investments in our technology, and more investments in our processes, right? People, process, technology are the key ingredients in having an effective 311 system long-term. And the majority of the calls we get right now at 301 are around waste collection, recycling, illegal dumping. So we want to make sure that those departments are responding to those complaints. Now, we want to do this in support and in collaboration with City Council, but we want to make sure that when you call 311, your call gets returned, your complaint is resolved, and that you can track that over time, and you have confidence that the system works.
I have a question and I have a statement to make. Thank you, Mayor Bibb. You're a newcomer here in the city, whatever.
In government.
In government, yes. And I love the fact that our councilman gets out and walks. We see him. We actually know who he is. And we're starting to know you. You've gone around the neighborhoods and been seen and talked to people. And we really needed that here in Cleveland. And I appreciate that. I just want to let you guys know that you're doing a wonderful job doing that. Letting us residents know who you are, what you stand for, and where you think. But I have a question. I would like to direct this to Mr. McCormack. I know we have all this up and coming stuff going on in Ohio City. However, when I first moved here, I brought my children to a traditional type of setting where people own homes. Even though I don't own a home, I love the fact that a lot of these folks own their homes, and it's wonderful to see that. And I don't want that to change a lot. They're trying to change and put all these square buildings up, but what they did on 32nd, Mr. Keith, the architect, his homes were built to look like homes, not buildings, not square boxes. His homes really look good in our neighborhood. I appreciated that. I thought he was going to build like boxes, but anyway, Mr. Keith is a wonderful architect. I love what he did. And I'm hoping that we will be looking at more developers, if they're coming here from out of state, look at our neighborhoods, how they look. Try not to just come in and just start bulldozing and changing things. There's a lot of people in this neighborhood that are wonderful people, and their kids want to come here to live. Not just new people, but these are people who have raised their children here. And we're hoping that we don't see too much of everybody coming from New York and Colorado and all of that, and not have any kind of thought about the people who actually own homes here. And I moved here because of that, and because of the diversity and the area, the walkability, and most of the folks were nice. I love it here, and I hope we can keep that residential thing going, not so much stores and so many businesses that don't have anything to do with us. I'm just hoping. It's just a thought. But anyway,
No, I appreciate
Mr.
that,
McCormack, thank you.
Thank you.
For your dedication to our neighborhood. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. And, for folks that don't know, Debbie's one of our community leaders in Ohio City, just an incredible human being who's advocated on a whole bunch of issues, and just have the utmost respect for her, so I appreciate that. And she tells me when I need to know what I need to know when I need to know it, so let me tell you that too. Look, Debbie, I would just say that agreed that we have to balance, as the mayor said, being a city that's lost half of our population with protecting existing homeowners. And that's exactly why I'm very passionate and outspoken about policies like that property tax cap, like ensuring we're protecting existing affordable housing, like leveraging assets to build new affordable housing so that folks that are in the neighborhood can stay in the neighborhood. There are also folks that may have a big home and they don't want it anymore, but we need to provide more age-in-place friendly options for folks that want to graduate out of a large home, maybe into something a little smaller, maybe onto one floor. All really, really good points that you make. And when I tell folks that we're passionate about affordable housing, when I tell folks about this, it's not to check a box. We are a stronger community when we are a diverse community. Simply put, we are a more sustainable neighborhood long term when we have folks of different backgrounds and income levels and all of that. So it's not just about checking a box. It's not what's right to do. It's what's going to make the neighborhood healthiest long term. So fundamentally agree with you. Mayor, do you? Okay.
I'm going to try and make this real quick because we got a long line and I'm much shorter than this is allowed for. Mayor Bibb, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to refer to you as a mayor. And Councilor McCormack, thank you. Thank you to all my wonderful neighbors. My name is Ellen Cubitt. I'm a resident of Ohio City, a proud Cleveland resident for over 10 years. And I largely wanted to have this opportunity to ask, what does the future of Cleveland look like in regards to incarceration? We've had a couple of questions about crime and about public safety, an issue that is extremely important, and I know an issue that my neighbors care about a lot. But one thing we know now is that incarceration does not actually make our community safer. We know that those who are charged with crime are not necessarily those who are the only people perpetrating harm. We're in this unique situation in our region where we're considering the future of our jail and largely the future of incarceration in our city. Mayor Bibb, I know you've been making dedicated strides to reevaluate what does it mean about who we police, who we incarcerate, how we rehabilitate. But right now, there are people who are discussing a lifetime commitment to an investment based upon incarcerating humans. This is a pivotal point in our future of our city. And whatever conversation we can have about increasing safety, increasing community, and decreasing our prison population is one that I hope we can all share. I'm going to finish this by saying that as a resident of the eastern suburbs, I grew up in an area where very few people were policed, and yet there was an extensive amount of crime. There was harm, there was interpersonal violence, there's drugs. There are criminals in many ways that we ignore. Ever since I've moved to Cleveland, I've had nothing but a safe and beautiful life. I have unbelievable neighbors. I have incredible interactions with people who love and value community, but we're policed here as opposed to those other locations. I guess what I mean to say is I'm really happy we're talking about crime, but I also hope that we're recognizing that incarceration isn't the only way to a strong community. And what do you think, what role does incarceration have in the future of Cleveland? Thank you so much.
I take this very seriously now that I'm in this seat as mayor because we have criminals preying on our streets that deserve to be in jail. However, for far too long, we have yet to invest in solving the root causes of violent crime in this city. I want to lay a couple of data points on you for a quick second. Did you know that in Cleveland, over the last 10 years, nearly 5% of all Black and brown children in the city are going to a school rated A or B? Only 5%. Another data point, ACT and SAT scores as measured of a college and career readiness has only gone up 1 percentage point. So if you can't read in the 3rd grade, if you don't have a good quality out of school time program to go to in the 5th grade or 6th grade, if you believe your only option is to get caught up on the street, then we're failing that children. And so it's not a matter of incarcerate or not incarcerate, but it's a matter of what's our priorities as a city. So I'm focused on investing in education, making real investments in economic development in communities who hadn't gotten their fair share, but also making sure if you've done your fair share of time in prison, that you can come back and find a job and restore your life, because it happened to me and my family, right? And so it's not one or the other, it's about all of the above to keep our community safe and secure and prosperous long term.
My name is Michael Koski. I'm a resident of Tremont. I'm an active member of my block club and our community's economic development committee for going on 15 years now. So I've seen a lot of development in my community, good and bad. There's been a lot of talk past year or two about the townhouse code and the troubling developments that it's leading to, especially slot houses, houses in rear yards that tower over neighboring backyards. In my block club, we recently saw a combination of developments all next to each other where you have 11 houses going to 6 parcels. Yeah. We also, before that, even had changes in the zoning code that allowed houses to be built closer together, even more than the original 5 feet between parcel. Now there'd be like 3 feet. We currently have a house under development being built in our community where, because they're building so close that they actually began to undermine the foundation of a neighboring house, and the emergency shoring is giving out even more, and that house is probably have to be demoed. We also have members of BZA who have been very antagonistic towards community input process that in our community we've spent many years developing and improving so that we could have a say in what happens in our community. Specific to the townhouse code and as well as the other issues regarding BZA, are those issues on your administration's radar? And if they are, what are you leaning towards doing or what are you investigating? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
And for time's sake, we're gonna have Mark as the last question. Public. No, got you're all. Yeah, just at the end. Mark at the end in the red shirt. So just a couple of things. Wow, this is really up. Townhouse code 100% needs to be revised. We've got a group of residents here who's been passionate and working on it for a long time. There were some structural issues within city council as to why it didn't go anywhere. It needs to be revised, simply put. I don't know, from my perspective, but.
Yeah, so I know I mentioned earlier about the work we want to do around reforming the zoning code. That's in progress. And then we are appointing like-minded people in the community to be on Board of Zoning and Appeals, Planning Commission. We had the first woman ever chairing Planning Commission and the first ever woman leading the planning department. And so in work with the council leadership and Councilman McCormack, we want to make sure we get the zoning right. It'll be a work in progress over time. But we also know that what's needed in Ohio City and Tremont, very different than what's needed in Lee Harvard and Mount Pleasant. So our zoning code must understand and reflect those nuances, and it's a mandate I've given Joyce Wong, my head of city planning. It's like pass the potato, you know?
Thank you both for being here. I'm Tom Moran. I've met Kerry a couple of times, Mayor Bibb. I live right on West 50th, and first off, the renovations being done to Franklin are awesome, so we're really happy about that. But the question is more about coordinating with utility companies. I know part of it is out of the city's control, but we have poured now, I think, in front of, on Franklin at the top of our block, we've poured and torn out sidewalks on 4 different occasions in like the last 10 months, which is particularly difficult with for people with disabilities that find it tough to get around and have to get to public transit. And beyond that, we just poured a beautiful asphalt street on West 50th, and it's already marked to be torn out on part of it. And again, it's not really the city's fault, but we haven't coordinated with utilities, so that construction then is going to lead to deterioration of the street, which is, again, beautiful. But is there anything that can be done to kind of facilitate communication with the utility companies to avoid that? Because, again, we're thrilled about the investment in infrastructure, but it's a little tough to watch it go through so many phases.
You bring up a good point. I don't know if it's through legislation or administrative rule, but I know that I can talk to my COO, Bonnie Tewin, about how do we do a better job of coordinating between our public works department, water, public utilities, and the private sector companies around this and get better coordination. But thanks for the question. You want to?
No, echo. I mean, yes, it's an issue. Yeah. Oh.
Hi, Mayor. I'm so glad you're here. And Kerry, thank you for setting this meeting up. I was really pleased to hear that you were planning to use ARPA money to look at affordable housing and lead paint. My question is there any plan to address the lead in the water lines?
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought that up. Through our leadership at the water department, we've been working with the EPA administrator in the Biden administration and the head of the Ohio EPA to get more of our water lines remediated with lead paint. And with the money coming down from the Biden administration through the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we want to make sure we get our fair share of resources to address that in Cleveland. So it's on our list. I've been lobbying in DC to make sure we get our fair share of resources, so it's an important priority for us. Okay, Mark, you want to close us out with a question?
They've got
Okay. Oh.
I have a microphone. Is it on?
It's on.
Okay. Okay. Do you want an easy question or a hard one?
Just.
Okay, I'll give you the easy one. All right. One of the things I'm hearing tonight, and this is great. The improvements to 311, top notch. The rollout of the street infrastructure, especially the speed tables, have been really positive so far. And the thing that they have in common is that you didn't spend 5 years planning them, you just went ahead and did it. I've observed the process with the upgrade of Franklin. Very much the opposite. It might be a great result, but wow, that was a couple year stakeholder process and a lot of back and forth and maybe a really nice result. But I just want to compliment you for just rolling out a simple improvement that can be replicated everywhere, that can be done quickly,
Thank you.
that doesn't cost a lot of money and might help a lot. I think the thing that is going really well in this administration is that you're doing the basic things really well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing 311 actually improving city services and not having to go through your council person, which is a really hinky way to do things in the first place. So thank you for being on that. No question.
Thank you. Well, I'll use that to recognize Jamie DeRosa, head of MOCAP, who helped get that done, as well as Callie Mersman, too, who made that happen. So,
and I just want to note, too, again, and I'm not trying to give him too many kudos, but it did take a mayor to say do it. We were asking and pushing for this stuff to get done for years, and Mark, to your point, it makes a difference. One last thing, can we please give a round of applause to Rachel, who's signing for us today? So, thank you, Rachel. We appreciate you. Also a city resident, and thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Mayor, any closing remarks?
thank you all. Appreciate your support, okay? Take care.